1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check these mics real quick. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Alright, mics look good. So I'm gonna try to make this a quick one, right? So, you know, I was thinking, it came to me, right? I don't know, it's spirit or whatever, right? And I was thinking after reading the prophecy of Ezra, which is Ezra's probably my favorite prophecies to read, end time prophecies, and so I'm always thinking about him. I think because it's so relevant, right? It's so relevant. He's so real. He's been so accurate, and it's so much meat on that bone, right? So to speak. So, like, prophetically, right? Like people always saying, like, I'm a prophet, and you be like, well, you're not. How the fuck are you a prophet when you've never prophesied anything relevant, right? You're just talking about something, and you say, oh, that's gonna happen, and it's like, yeah, it's 2023. You've never prophesied anything prior to that, and then you say, well, this is gonna happen in the future, and you say, I'm a prophet. That doesn't make sense. You're not a prophet. You're a fruitcake, right? You're a nut job, right? You're a flake. You're a phony, right? So anyway, but Ezra is an example of a legitimate prophet, a holy prophet, right? And so it's so much to, come back to, think about, study, right? There's so much light in the prophecy of Ezra. So, but one thing Ezra pointed out, right, is that the cross, what you understand when you read Ezra, the revelation of Ezra, the cross is a sign of wickedness, right? When you see, like, the picture of this Jesus, this white Jesus figure, right, and this cross, it's a sign of wickedness. It's actually an Antichrist symbol, right? The cross is the Antichrist symbol. So when I see people, like I see women or men or people with crosses in their houses or on their clothes, it's the mark of the beast. I mean, for me, I look at it as the mark of the beast according to the Bible. According to the prophet Ezra, that kind of thing would be considered like, yeah, the mark of the beast, a sign of the Antichrist, right? A sign of terror and wickedness and unrighteousness. When you see a cross, it's a sign of terror, wickedness, and unrighteousness amongst the people. And more than likely, the people that are displaying this cross are going to be hypocrites, liars, unrighteous, wicked, terroristic people, right? Very low. Outwardly they may seem okay, but once you peel back the onion, you start to see that these are hypocrites, these are liars, these are some of the most wicked people you want to come across, right? Most cunning and cutthroat and backstabbing, materialistic, shallow people that you're going to ever come across in your life are going to have crosses on. They're going to bear a cross in their house. They're going to have this picture of Jesus in their house, right? They're going to have, everywhere you see these crosses, right? Something horrible has taken place on the earth. There's nothing good in these figures of this Jesus figure, right? There's nothing good that ever happens. Only degradation and degeneration comes when you see this statue. Like right here, right, for instance, you have this statue of Jesus, this white Jesus over top of Brazil, right? This Christ the Redeemer, always getting struck by lightning, right? This unholy thing, right? And look at Brazil. What happened? Well, Brazil got colonized. The Indians got killed. Their land got stolen by some white people from Europe, right? Destroyed, poisoned, looted. To this day, the biggest black population outside of Africa because of the slavery, and you know what I mean. So, just a horrible place. A lot of poverty where the descendants of slavery and the Indians are at the bottom economically, right? The favelas, a place of exploitation, right? And then what do you see overlooking the whole thing? Well, you see this Jesus figure, this Portuguese Jesus from Europe, overlooking, all of the genocide and all of the raping and pillaging and degradation and wickedness and hypocrisy and lies, right? He's overseeing all of that. Why? Because this is the Antichrist. This is Satan, the devil. That's why. You see? Who would oversee all of this wickedness but Satan, the Antichrist himself? But see, people have been fooled in their thinking when you see this, there's something good taking place. But it's the opposite. That's why it's called the Antichrist. You see, it's supposed to look good, but it's the opposite of good. It's evil. The whole world is the matrix. It's designed that way. You see? But until you read somebody like a prophet like Ezra, you don't understand the matrix. Ezra is basically the biblical Morpheus. He's the biblical Morpheus. If you listen to Ezra, he will give you the pill that allows you to see the matrix as it is, right? And that's Ezra. He's the biblical Morpheus. And so when you read Ezra, you understand about this statue and these crosses, right? When you see these statues and these crosses and this picture of this, this European white Jesus figure, all hell has broken loose. There has been children raped and killed and murdered and prostituted and enslaved, right? There has been land stolen, right? There has been hundreds of millions killed. There has been bombs and wars and everything, right? Because this is just war. When you do that, that's waging war on people. When you steal their land and colonize their shit and shoot them, well, that's all war, right? And there's prisoners of war everywhere, the descendants of these slaves. And they say, well, slavery has been taking place for, 1,000 years. Okay. And so I guess that means you okay. Right? As a justification. Right? So when you see these crosses, something horrible has taken place. But people, for some reason, in the matrix, they have been taught that when you see a cross, that you're seeing a sign of God. You're seeing a sign of goodness, right? And mercy and equity and etc. Whatever, right? Fill in the fucking blanks, the buzzword you want to use, right? But it's always the opposite of that, and nobody is suspicious, right? That's the interesting part. Like none of these motherfuckers are suspicious around here, right? You're not suspicious that you see all this shit right here and nothing good is happening. It's like a veneer, a thin veneer, right? You're never suspicious of that at all, right? So then you read. I ain't gonna make this too long, but let's read the book of Ezra. Let's end. I'm gonna end on this, and so you'll see why I'm saying what I'm saying, right? So let's read. What did Ezra say? Let's read an excerpt from the Revelation of Ezra. A real prophet, not a fake prophet like all the ones on YouTube and on in your churches on Sunday. All these child raping swindlers and charlatans in your churches on Sunday, telling all these fucking lies and using the Bible, right? Won't talk about prophecy. Won't talk about Ezra, won't talk about Joel, won't talk about Revelations, will tell you that it's a one-size-fit-all book and it's okay to turn your little children into transsexuals because the book is okay with that, and etc., and you don't need any rules, right? That's why Jesus said, there's no one good but the Most High that is in heaven. Don't call me good. I'm not a good person. right? But let's read Ezra. What did Ezra say? Ezra said in this prophecy, he said, and he said to me that this, he showed him a man. He said, and there I saw bound with iron chains. And I asked, who is this? To the angel that was guiding Ezra in the dream. And he said to me, this is he who said, I am the Son of God that made stones bread and water wine. Well, that would be this guy. Right? Now, mind you, Ezra was written thousands of years, a couple of thousand years ago. He was given an end time prophecy that was going to take place a couple of thousand years in the future. I don't think he necessarily knew how long, right? Because in psychic phenomenon, sometimes the length of time you can't tell when you're seeing something. You just say, I'm seeing this dream, I can't tell when it's going to happen. It could be a year from now, it could be 1,000 years from now. So Ezra was having this prophecy, right? And he described this guy, right? The same wicked symbol that you're going to see over Brazil in every church on Sunday. You see it on these women's walls, these men's walls. Everybody's, every church, right? You see you see these crosses in this picture right here, right? So Ezra described that. This is the guy who says in the Bible that they teach you in Sunday school. For some reason, people don't remember this story, right? That Jesus Christ went to the wedding and he turned, water to wine, etc., right? Bread, stones. So Ezra talked about the same. How is it that Ezra talked about this story that you guys are telling about Jesus at the wedding? He talked about that hundreds of years before it happened. But nobody talks about Ezra in church on Sunday, right? I talk about him all the time because of this right here, right? I love it. I think it's awesome. I think it's one of the most significant things you can read in the Bible if you really want to understand that the Bible is real. The reality of the Bible. Let me just say that, right? The aspects of the reality of the Bible as opposed to the bullshit that they teach you, right? So, and it's fascinating. So, you had to say, right, how did Ezra know they were going to put this figure up? Right, let's read the rest of that real quick before I go. So he says, and this is he who said, I am the Son of God, right? He said, this is he who said, I am the Son of God that made stones bread and water wine. And the prophet said, my Lord, let me know what his true form, so I shall tell the race of men that they may not believe in him. He began to describe an alien, some type of alien, type creature to Ezra. And then it goes on to say, in his face an inscription, Antichrist. He has been exalted to heaven, but he shall go to Hades, right? At one time a child, and at another an old man. And no one believes that he is my beloved son, right? So we know that that's the baby Jesus, right? He said he shall be depicted at one time as a child, and another an old man. And in the end, nobody shall believe that he is my beloved son. And it's actually a bad translation. Jesus never said, I am the Son of God. Jesus said, I am a son of God, right? That's what he was trying to tell you. But they changed the story and the wording because they needed to pedestalize and deify the Christ figure to make a religion. He wasn't making a religion, so they changed it from a son of God to the only Son of God. That's not what he said, right? You fuck niggas. That's not what he said, right? And y'all can't get that through your thick skulls, right? Because you've been brainwashed, right? And so, yeah. So he said, I am a son of God, right? So they changed this to deify Christ into this, right? So let me go on. Let me try to wrap this up. And anyway, so Ezra ends by saying this part. He says, after he says the people won't believe in him, he said, listen, my prophet, he becomes child and old man, and no one believes he's my beloved son. Alright? So, he is my beloved son. You see? No one believes that anymore. People know that it's fake at a certain level, right? But they still run with these crosses. Back to my original thing, right? So there he tells you it's all fake, basically, right? Let me go back to this picture real quick. That's what I meant. I'm a little high. Bear with me. So he goes back to, so he basically describes that this is all fake, and it's a sign of the Antichrist. He said the figure that you're seeing, he saw in a dream, chained up, beaten and chained up, with Antichrist across his forehead 2,000 years ago. And it's been in a book that you read every Sunday in your church. But you won't look at it. Right? So that's just a fascinating point, I thought. Right? That this figure that you see standing watch over Brazil was described 2,000 years ago to Ezra as the Antichrist, as a symbol of the Antichrist, Satan, the devil. But you think it's a sign of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob of the Bible that was written in North Africa. See, you got two different things going on here, right? We all don't have the same God. This is a different God. This thing you're looking at is an abomination. The real Lord of hosts is going to turn all of that to dust and rubble. He's going to turn that statue into dust and rubble. Because that's a sign of the Antichrist, Satan the devil. All crosses will be destroyed in the world. All pyramids in Egypt will be destroyed, and all crosses will be destroyed. Right? During this specifically, like, all churches, all these things will be destroyed by the Lord of hosts. Why? Because they are synagogues of Satan, as it is written in the Revelations 2 and 9. They are synagogues of Satan. They are the chief house, the church, the houses of the Antichrist. Right? Anywhere you see a cross and a picture like this is a sign of the Antichrist. People that worship the Antichrist, whether knowingly or unknowingly. So you might walk in, you could walk in and say, that's a sign of the Antichrist. And they'll say, no, it's not. That's Jesus Christ. That's the Lord of hosts. Right? That's the Lord of hosts. That's so-called Jesus Christ, which is a title, not a name. But Ezra said he saw that bound in chains. This man on the statue, bound in chains, with Antichrist stamped on his forehead in the end times. And that it changed forms into an alien creature, a reptilian or something. Right? He was shown the two forms. So what is he trying to tell you? Right? So when you see that cross and you see these, these pictures and these crosses and this man, well, you're looking at the Antichrist, Satan the devil, in one of his forms, right? That's being paraded in front of the world in a occult fashion. It's occultism. That just means in a hidden way. It's hidden from the people, right? Hidden in plain sight, right? That's how the Matrix works, right? So you're looking at a symbol when and people, and you walk in, you'll say like, hey, you got a cross on your neck. That's the sign of the Antichrist. You worship the devil, Satan. And they no, it's not. This is for Jesus. Well, that's not for Jesus. Have you ever read the book of Ezra? Oh, no, I haven't read that. Okay, well, Ezra said that's the sign of the Antichrist. Well, I don't care. They tell you, hey, I don't care about that. I'm not going to take this cross off. Right? Or you say, you could show them the book of Ezra. You could show them in the Bible where it says you don't supposed to worship these kind of things. right? No wood and stone and pictures and all that. It says it right in the Bible. I'm not going to get into it tonight. You're not supposed to wear crosses. You're not supposed to wear have that shit in your house, right? Jesus peace on your neck and all that crap. So the thing is, though, if you are a wise person, when you see these things and you understand the occult Bible messages, then what would you say? A smart, intelligent person will say, oh, this is a sign of the Antichrist. And these are people who work for the Antichrist, knowingly or unknowingly. You see? They're like a zombie. They've been bitten and they don't know that they've been bitten. You see? And you have to beware of these people. You see? These are signs of the devil, of Satan. You see? When you see these crosses and these pictures of this man, right? Who really, and then let's go another level. This is levels to this shit, right? So at one level, that's that. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna go. At one level, it's that everything I just said to you, right? It's a reverse of what it's really supposed to be, right? And then on another level is something else, because Ezra described two things. It's the sign of an invasion. You've been invaded by aliens. Wow, there we go. Let's go another level. It's an open sign that you've been invaded by aliens from another planet. And I know that's mind-blowing. I know you say that doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense if you read the book of Ezra and you understand the prophecy. When you see the pyramids in Egypt, them pyramids and these crosses and this Jesus religion and all that crap is a sign not only of Satan, the Antichrist, the devil, whatever you want to call it. But I use Antichrist because that's what Ezra used. Ezra said Antichrist, therefore I say Antichrist. You see? And nobody get past Ezra. You see? You can't say, well, that he's the original. you can't don't get no more a better reference point than that. Right? So it's different levels to this shit. And Ezra described the two levels of it. You see, the two sides of the coin. So at one level it's a sign of the Antichrist. You see, Satan, the devil. And then on the other flip side, it's a sign that you've been invaded by aliens. Because that's not organic to the planet Earth. That's not part really of that whole movement, that whole situation, that whole cult group, that whole Nazi cult group that put that out, right? That white, racist, fascist, Nazi cult group that runs this whole thing, that represents, right? See, that's what it represents on one side, and then on the other side, it represents that you've been invaded by aliens. Because it comes from them. It's not connected to, North African, Abrahamic religions. It's something else. It's an offshoot that was created to confuse people. And, propagandized, etc., whatever, right? It was just something that was being used, just like the Nazis took an Indian swastika and then used it. It's the same way, right? They just took something from someone else's culture and then used it, right? For whatever nefarious, symbolic purposes that they wanted to. And you have to understand that, right? To understand the different levels. I mean, this is the end time. This is almost over with. If you don't get it now, when the fuck you gonna get it? When the missiles and the lasers start hitting? When the blue-green scale of lasers burn the deck, right? When the nukes hit, then you can be like, oh, I got it now. It's too late. But anyway, right? So, but that's the time we're living in. That's what's really going on. I mean, I'm going too long, but I just wanted to, I guess, hash that shit out, right? And kind of give a little background on the whole, just kind of bring it all together, I guess. Anyway, so, but I'm not gonna belabor the point. Just a little bit about the book of Ezra, and we have to remember that, when you see those crosses and this type of thing, it's a sign of, you're gonna find very hypocritical, people telling lies, being hypocrites, right? Being cutthroats, being genocidal maniacs, right? Being raccoons, being a bunch of coons, right? And shit like that. You're gonna see a lot of that kind of thing going on. Grifting, being con men, being grifters. Why? Because they don't keep no laws in the real Bible that will present you from carrying yourself a certain way, right? They destroy these things so that you be whatever. You can be, an agent of the Antichrist. Very satanic, you see. So yeah, when you see those crosses, you gotta beware. So anyway, that's all I got.